Hello and welcome back to Chelsea. It's Tuesday and that means it's Medals Day at the greatest horticultural show in the world. The nursery exhibits and the gardens have been scrutinised and judged, and we'll be revealing how they got on through tonight's programme. And you may have noticed that Joe and I are indoors, and this is a Chelsea first.
Yes.
It's rained today, a lot, but it hasn't stopped Joe wearing his hat indoors.
I'm lost without it, Monty. Now, I'm anticipating a gold rush this year. We've got a lot of the big players back. Sarah Eberle, Andy Sturgeon, Chris Beardshaw, but there's also a lot of talented young blood snapping at their heels, eh?
It's very exciting, I think, to see these young designers doing work that is not just sort of young and revolutionary and radical, but thoughtful and knowledgeable and sensitive.
And working with the environment, I think that's key.
Well, that is the key, but let's have a look now at some of the results of the RHS Chelsea Flower Show 2022, an event supported by the Newt in Somerset. At crack of dawn this morning, Nikki Chapman was out there to witness the highs and lows of the Garden Awards.
I'm with Sarah Poll, Head of Shows Development for the RHS. And Sarah, this is the moment, isn't it? All the designers and teams have been waiting for, because it's Tuesday and it's Medals Day and we're about to start the medals dash.
It is, it's so exciting. Let's go, Nikki. On behalf of the RHS, we're delighted to present you with your gold medal.
Can't believe it.
The rain's not going to deter you, is it, today?
I can't believe it.
We have an amazing team. We love them all.
Yeah,
It was a hive mind.
We're delighted to present you with your silver medal.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm honoured. Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations to Chris Beardshaw. He's had 12 gold medals at Chelsea. This is going to be his 13th. Lucky for some.
Well, congratulations.
What do I need to say now?
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks.
A 9th gold medal for Andy Sturgeon. Well done, Andy. Where are you? You should have been here. We wanted to give it to you personally, but you can still celebrate in style for the rest of the day.
On behalf of the RHS, I'm delighted to present you with your gold medal. Well done.
Congratulations, Ruth. Can you spare a few words for all the tears and the emotion?
Just thank you, my entire team. We've had an absolute dream team.
We'd like to present you with your silver gilt. Congratulations.
Thank you. Daddy, where's my hug?
Oh!
Yeah, I like Daddy's looking at me first.
Gold medal. On behalf of the RHS, we're delighted to present you with your silver medal. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
It's been a great experience, and the silver gilt is just fabulous. It's really, really fabulous. So, thank you.
On behalf of the RHS, Sarah, we'd like to present you with your gold medal.
Thank you.
Oh, we are thrilled.
Absolutely thrilled.
You know very well what it takes just to put a garden here, let alone get a gold medal.
Yeah, and the standards are so high. You make one little mistake here, one little mistake there, and suddenly you're going down to silver, gilt silver, and you know, it really is tough.
And yet, this year, there are 6 gold medals on Main Avenue.
Yeah, which is fantastic. So the standard is high this year.
Well, this is one of them.
This is one of them, Sarah Eberle.
It is extraordinary.
Wow. You know, this really is wow.
Yeah, it is. Well, I think that's the key to it, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a show. It's a performance.
Yeah.
Inside this, well, sort of machine workings, isn't it? It's like a cave.
Yeah, it's like an industrial, sort of.
And I love the
abandoned
little touches, and we haven't even mentioned round the back is the most
No.
glorious wall.
I know, but this is Chelsea. This is pure theatre. You can only do this sort of thing here, and it works brilliantly, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, I think you're right. And I think theatre is the thing. Some Chelsea gardens are naturalistic, some are aspirational. This is just drama.
But you know what, though, Monty? If it was just that structure and that water feature, it's not going to win a gold medal at all. No. It's also has to be integrated into a garden, into the planting, and her planting is absolutely gorgeous.
You say her planting. There is Sarah.
Sarah!
Sarah, come here.
Hello.
Sorry, was I being rude about Sarah?
No, it's fine.
Hi,
Sarah, hello.
Jeremy.
We're talking about you.
Hi.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Now, you know, I remember seeing you really early on in the build, and you said, this is either going to work or it's going to be a disaster. Well, it's worked, hasn't it?
It has, but it's shortened my life because right until the last minute, I didn't know whether it was going to work. There was a lot of risk involved.
When you say
in
going
this.
to work, what do you mean?
Well, because it's, you know, it's the aesthetic is based on the almost fantasy Victorian Gothic grotto, but it's put together with other materials. It's not real, and that fantasy become quite Disney-esque or cartoonish.
Yeah.
And I wasn't quite sure until we completed it which it would be.
And when you make a garden, and I think we fair to say you've got more gold medals than anyone else ever.
And more Chelsea gardens than anyone else ever.
Do you set out to get a gold medal, or do you just try and make a nice garden?
No, actually never do that. Because once you chase medals, you lose the integrity of what you're doing because you make decisions poorly.
Yeah.
You can, every time you make a decision based on other people's thinking or how you think they'll think, you'll go the wrong way.
So you're making this garden for yourself?
Absolutely make it for myself.
This is what you'd have in your back garden.
Well, I might.
But it's an art form, okay? And
It
you're doing
is.
it for yourself, and
Absolutely.
you're channeling that creativity.
Yes, and it's actually my integrity, my passion, my belief that makes it work with a team who believe in me.
And your incredible skill, I have to say, because the planting is divine.
Oh,
it's
thank
wonderful.
you. Thank you.
Yeah, it's not just high drama, it's really skillful, beautiful planting.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that.
Well, congratulations.
Well
Really,
done.
it was fantastic.
Another gold in the bank.
Another gold.
Well done.
Thank you.
So that's what it takes to achieve a gold, but just the tiniest of things could mean the difference between a gold and a Silver Gilt award. Earlier today, former award-winning garden designer Nick Bailey caught up with RHS judge James Alexander Sinclair, who explained all.
This is the Alder Hey Urban Foraging Station Garden designed by brothers Howard and Hugh Miller, which was awarded a Silver Gilt medal. Silver Gilt is a massive achievement, but some designers will be disappointed they didn't get a gold. The margins of error are extremely slim. Now, it's not easy judging these gardens, is it, James?
It's not, and nor should it be, because it's something that we need to take very, very seriously.
Now, I remember distinctly back in 2016, you delivered my results for my Main Avenue garden, and I got a Silver Gilt. I was just a few points away from gold. I was a bit disappointed, but actually, Silver Gilt's a significant thing, isn't it?
Silver Gilt is a very impressive thing. It's not an easy thing to get. A gold is, you know, what everybody's looking for, but you need to work really, really hard to do that. And as we base it on a very, very scientific way in which we judge, it's just a matter of a few mistakes here and there, and that brings you down, which is, I'm afraid, what happened to you.
Now, this garden is destined for Alder Hey Children's Hospital, and
Yes.
it's going to be reconstructed there. I think they've taken some really interesting approaches, but it's a Silver Gilt garden, so it's not quite got to the top. Your judging criteria has determined that. So what did you make of this garden?
I mean, basically, it's a long process, and we have, you know, judging criteria where we judge design and we judge construction and we judge planting, and we're looking for little details. So this is, as you say, a garden for children, not necessarily for children who are in the hospital, but for their relations and for small kids to run around and just to let off a bit of steam. And there are a few things here which doesn't quite work. I mean, this path that we're standing on is just a little bit too tight for that. And admittedly, when it goes to its end place, to its home at the hospital, it will be much bigger. But you have to think about that because of the show garden. The second thing is, if you're here, small children need supervision. We need an adult. Where is the adult going to sit? Because it all gets too narrow. And then the other thing is the way that this what we're standing on is a picnic blanket. and you can see how it sort of, you know, folds, and that's lovely, and it's concrete, but the plants that are in it maybe not quite big enough. Wouldn't you like them a little bit closer together?
So I guess when the public are looking at a garden like this, I mean, it looks fantastic. There's beautiful layers of planting, beautiful plants, extremely well constructed. The public can go, this is a gold garden. Why hasn't it got gold?
It nearly did, is the answer.
This is the point.
And there's some lovely bits. This sort of wild background here with the hedge. I mean, really, but you know how difficult that is to do. That's a really, really tricky thing. And then, you know, we've got this laid hedge at the front, and then there's a little bit here. One of the things that we look at that's quite important is that what's in here has to be seen by people who are visiting. And if it's invisible, then it doesn't really count. So there's a really nice little dew pond down here that you can't quite appreciate from outside.
To see it. Yeah, I mean, it is a fantastic garden, and as you say, so close to gold. Silver gilt is a good score, and it would be great to see this go to the hospital.
It would be fantastic.
Thank you, Nick and James. Now, the stakes are equally as high over in the Great Pavilion, where the nursery men and women have also been awarded their medals. Here's our very own Queen of the Pavilion, Carol Klein, with the results.
Give you a happy birthday cuddle.
Happy birthday. And what have you got as a birthday present for your medal?
A lovely gold medal.
Oh, wonderful. What do you get?
Gold.
Congratulations.
Thank you very
Absolutely
much.
brilliant. How many golds up?
This is my second Chelsea and my second gold.
Wonderful, wonderful.
So yeah, really, really pleased.
And you've got a wonderful medal. Congratulations.
Cheers.
I wish I could.
Have a little drop.
I wish I could. Later.
Take care.
Well done.
Ta-da. Bye.
Hiya, love.
Hello.
What you got?
Silver gilt. Silver gilt.
Oh.
I know. 40th year. But it's still a good medal. Yeah. And, you know, we're going out on a high.
Of course you are.
So, and I did it, my dad said, at the end, will you do something that we don't have to keep looking up at? Because he was in a wheelchair at the end,
I know.
you know. And it's a great display.
It is.
And we've done our best.
Darling. Well done.
Lovely to see you, Carol.
Yeah, lovely to see you too.
Yeah.
And what did you get?
A gold.
Wonderful.
A gold.
Congratulations.
Fabulous. Absolutely fabulous.
That's so beautiful. It's just so lovely. So, are you all ladies? Are you all women?
Yeah, my husband's somewhere.
Yeah.
Rex. Rex.
Come on, Rex. Well done.
Thank you.
Congratulations. So after rushing around the pavilion, it's so lovely to come to a standstill just for a minute or so and take in this most beautiful stand. I always loved these stands by Jacquemont, who've been exhibiting here since the mid-50s. They've obviously got the hang of it. This absolutely beautiful woodland display, complete with trees, lilies, and a huge variety of orchids, takes up the whole of the front of the stand. And then around the back, there's something totally different to see. You don't necessarily associate lilies with shady places. Most of the time, you grow them in full sun. But this is a group of lilies which actually thrive under woodland conditions. But of course, you don't need a beechwood to grow them. You can grow them in between shrubs or under trees in any smaller garden. They're martigan lilies with these beautiful long pointed buds which eventually reflex and become almost like pixies' hats. They're amongst the most elegant of the whole family, especially when they're growing with a dark background like this one that's provided by this lovely Acer. Around the back of the stand are a lot of tender plants, things like hippeastrums with these great big gorgeous lily-like flowers. So just walking around this stand, you can get a really good idea of plants that you can grow in the shade, in the sun, or inside. It's lovely.
Chelsea Flower Show is generally accepted as the pinnacle of the horticultural world. And for any designer or exhibitor, it doesn't matter how experienced you are, it is a daunting prospect. But if it's your first time and you specialise in late summer, rather temperamental blooms, then it is even more nerve-wracking. We caught up with delphinium specialist Graham Austin from Home Farm Plants to see how his inaugural preparations were coming along.
Delphiniums are great. They're an old traditional cottage garden flower. They've been around for hundreds of years. They give you height at the back of a border, and also the colour blue is the most popular one. You don't get many plants with this vivid blue. Well, I'm Graham Austin. I've been growing delphiniums since I left school. I first started liking delphiniums when I joined a nursery. I had to clean out all the old pots, and I was throwing more away than I was keeping. And then I come across some delphiniums. I peeled off the old weed, and there was these 3 or 4 fat buds, and then they sort of grew into these lovely great spikes, and from then onwards I've sort of been hooked on them, really. I own a nursery with Nina, my wife. We built it up from scratch together, and this began about 18 years ago. I'd done some garden maintenance, and I started doing the garden over the road from here. The person's garden who I was maintaining, he just said, oh, can you get rid of that 12-by-8 greenhouse? And I suddenly thought, well, I wouldn't mind that. So we took all the glass out of it, carried it across the lane here, and just plonked it on some railway sleepers. And here we are now, in a slightly bigger greenhouse. We propagate everything we sell, division seed or cuttings. I'm quite proud of that, actually. For a perfect delphinium, you want a nice, round, symmetrical floret, a nice strong eye, and you don't want it cupped. So if it's cupped like that, it will catch the weather and the rain will get into it. So you want it nice and flat. And also, you want it to open right the way up, right to the top. So you want these florets open before that one goes to seed. So you've got one nice, fresh flower spike. So you must stake your delphiniums. You've got the potential flower spike shooting up there. And if that's not staked, that rocks around and gradually it falls outside and it splits at the bottom. So that's when rot sets in. So we use 3 5 to 6 foot canes. Then you get your twine. And that means now that that delphinium will never fall out that string line. So delphiniums like a free draining soil and a sunny position. For drainage, because they don't like sitting wet, we use horticultural grit. So when you plant a delphinium, put 2 or 3 handfuls of this in the hole and dig it in. So once you've planted your delphinium, you get a couple of handfuls of grit, place it around the base of the plant, and that'll help with the drainage and the slugs. The slugs don't like crawling over the grit, it gets stuck to them. And also it marks where your delphinium is, so in the spring, February, March time, you can keep an eye on that area and watch out when your delph's coming through into growth. So we've bred one of our own varieties, Dawn Chorus. We named it Dawn Chorus because it flowers very early in the year. This is it, lovely vivid blue, and it has this outer layer of purple. It's got that nice dark eye, and it's got those little yellow hairs, tiger eye. There's a couple of new varieties we're hoping to take to Chelsea, one of which is Regal Splendour. It's a real dark purple, and it has this outer layer of vivid blue. And then in the centre it's got a brown eye, and if you look it's got loads of little tiny yellow hairs. And also this one up here is Angela Rowe. The nice thing about Angela Rowe is it's a lovely clear blue, but it also has its nice creamy eye. Yeah, it's a nice cultivar, that one. It's our first time to Chelsea, yeah, slightly nervous. Getting the plants to Chelsea is an absolute nightmare. Getting these 7-foot plants in the van without breaking them. They're all shown individually, so I can't even break one leaf or any stem. Oh, that's horrible, I don't like that. That's the worst bit of it all, I think. I hope that at Chelsea we get gold. I mean, gold would be fantastic. At the end of the day, when I finish the display, I stand back and I look at it and I think, can I get that any better? And if I, in my own mind, I can't get it any better, what else can you do? But let's hope the judges think it's gold. We'll see.
Graham, you did it. You got a gold.
Yeah, over the moon. Yeah, a few tears, but yeah, over the moon.
Well,
great.
first time, gold medal. It really doesn't get any better than that.
No, no. The whole experience with Chelsea has been fantastic. I loved it. It's been great.
I mean, they do look amazing. They look extraordinary. And they have this incredible vigour, not just of size, but of colour.
Yeah, that's the elatum delphinium. Right. That's what gives it its vigour. Elatum means grand, big and strong. And that's
now, talking about big and strong, you were talking about bringing a 7-foot one. Which is the 7-foot?
Well, the big 7-footer, well, it's 8-foot actually, is Min at the back, the big violet one at the back.
Right.
We had a job getting that one here. We had to lean it down in the van on its side.
Nightmare, trying to get it through.
Yeah.
And of course, although we all think of delphiniums as being blue, and they're one of the archetypal blue flowers, you have a wide range of colours.
Yeah.
I mean, that lovely sort of plum-coloured touch with pink is superb.
It's called the cranberry colour. It's quite a new strain.
Did you develop that?
No, it's a great friend of ours. Sadly passed away the other year, and we've now got the breed line of that. So we're progressing that. But it is a special colour.
It's superb. Do you find people want to always revert for blue, or are they looking for different colours?
Blue's the main colour. Everybody wants blue, but the whites pick out all the other colours as well. So the whites are good. But it's every colour bar scarlet.
Listen, it looks superb.
Thank you.
Congratulations, and enjoy the rest of your week.
I will. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, I've put my design hat back on this year for the first time in a decade at Chelsea. It's been a labour of love and a stark reminder of the pressures involved. And as a feature garden, mine isn't even being judged. But one man who is being judged is designer Joe Perkins. Sophie caught up with him in the final stages of his Meta garden build.
Joe, you were supposed to be here 2020. You finally made it. What's it like to be back?
You know, it's an incredible feeling to be back, of course. We obviously had to delay it due to the pandemic, but finally we're here, and yeah, it's great. It's a really amazing feeling.
So go on, show us what you've got in store.
Here we are. So you can see it's all timber, and that's very important. It's all about, obviously about the trees being woodland, but it's also about timber as a material, and it's about the benefits that woodland can have in terms of climate change, but also for our own well-being.
Amazing structure here that you've got.
Yeah, so the central pavilion, if you look under a microscope at the way that fungi interact with tree roots, they tend to form a certain shape as they wrap around the cells inside the tree roots. So as a microscopic image, we've taken that sort of shape and expanded it up.
So this will be the big structure will be here. So you'll be there, looking out there.
You'll be looking out here. You've got steps to your right, main steps up to your left.
Yeah, I can sort of see where it's going. But there is an awful lot to do, isn't there?
Yeah.
It's quite a complex structure to get in place, isn't it?
But
is
really,
it easy to get here?
Well, that's my worry at the moment, is I'm still waiting for it to officially be ready to arrive. Everything hinges around it, and we can't move forward with the garden until it's up and built. So yeah, that's the worry. It's timing.
Okay, well let's hope it arrives. Yes, because you're quite right. Without it, it might.
Without it, we're a bit
problems.
stuck. Yeah.
It's here, the crucial structure.
It did have a little moment of anguish when we found out that the lorry had broken down at Dunkirk, so it was stuck and then had to get through customs. So we were a day late.
You're looking very relaxed.
It's going really well. I'm really, really happy with it so far.
This is a confident man. 10 days to go. It's going really well. I love it. And when does the planting actually start?
So we have our first delivery tomorrow.
That is the moment, isn't it? Those plants that you picked and they all arrive.
Yeah, I hope it will go well, but yeah, the pressure's there.
I tell you what I love about this garden. I walked past it here first thing this morning, and immediately was the smell of timber. It's wonderful. I mean, it is beautiful, all the different timber that you have. And this is reclaimed wood, isn't it?
Yeah, this is called Eki. It was actually reclaimed for a railway bridge over the River Cam. So it's been in use for probably 100 years or so, and it could easily be in use for another 100 years. But we wanted to show that it could be reused and not necessarily look like old wood. So we've, obviously done a lot of work on it.
Amazing, even standing here, the difference in acoustics, isn't it?
Yeah.
Gorgeous structure. Give us an idea of what we're going to see here.
Here we've got a meadow which goes from dry at the top. It will become damper down here where the stream will be
Oh yes,
formed.
you've got the water. Yes,
Yeah.
of course you have. Yes.
And we've got woodland edge on either side.
And you've got a great site here as well. I mean, in terms of the show ground, haven't you? You're going to have big crowds all around your garden.
Of course, because you come in here from the main gate. This is almost the first garden that you see, so...
No pressure.
No pressure.
Joe, 5 days to go. It is unbelievably hot today, and this is the garden to be on. It's a lovely, shady woodland garden. It's a hive of activity, though.
It is, yeah. We've got a dedicated planting team working on the meadow here at the front at the moment. We could have taken the easy option here, maybe, and just laid some wildflower meadow turf, but there's a lot of thought and skill going into this, and I think the meadow will look great, but it will take time.
That bank is wonderful. Are you pleased with how it's turned out?
That was a really big mission to get that planted yesterday, and all watered last night, and it came in this morning and it's really picked up, so it's looking really lovely.
This garden is just made out of wood, unlike any other garden here. There's no concrete.
Yeah, there's no concrete at all. We took that decision because the garden is about using sustainable materials. It also makes it really easy to relocate because it's going to the National Forest afterwards.
As you have done from the start, you are looking very relaxed, cool, calm and collected. Is that how you're feeling?
I've got a really good team of people around me, so it allows me to have a bit of confidence. And now that the plants are here, of course, that worry also is taken away because they're great. Really, really happy. Come and see us when we're done. Come and have a drink on the garden.
Promise you I'll definitely do that. Well, good luck with it, Joe.
And here we are on the final garden. And I knew when these trees were craned in early on in the build that something special was happening on this corner of Main Avenue. Fantastic trees. We've got this sweet chestnut behind me and the tulip tree, and it creates that woodland feel immediately, but then sinking the whole plot down by a metre, it increases that feeling of seclusion and immersion. It's fantastic. And now I'm looking on to that stylised meadow in front of me, covered in bees. And I really love the way the whole garden is made of wood. It gives a lovely, warm, quiet feel to the space. There's no concrete here at all. And the way that Joe has sort of come up with this theme and run with it, and everything works but sort of harmonises with each other and makes a great garden as well, a garden that you can live in and you can enjoy. Joe, this is absolutely stunning. Are you pleased with it?
I'm over the moon, of course.
Yeah. I'm going to sit on my mushroom chair.
Chanterelle chair.
My chanterelle chair. It's lovely. I mean, it looks great, and that backdrop behind you as well. You've used this fern all over, it's sort of like representing moss almost, isn't it?
Yeah, it is representing moss. This is a kind of my take on a woodland bank. So there's different plant communities and different habitats here in the garden. And you've got the meadow in front of you, you've got woodland edge on either side under the copper sweet chestnuts, you've got deeper, darker shade.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, it's sunk down it. And the mushrooms, the fungi behind you in the cases, what are those?
They're actually embroidered. So, very talented artist Amanda Cobbett, who has loaned them to us for the garden. But it's a story about plant communities, but it's also a story about connection and underpinning plant life. 97% of all terrestrial plant life is the fungal network, the mycelium network.
Yeah.
Of course, the challenge is how do you bring that to life in a garden in May in Chelsea, right?
Yeah, tricky actually.
So obviously the mushroom themes running through the garden as one way of demonstrating that.
And I know that you were very cool about this structure coming in, but it made it. You know, you were sort of like looking very cool, but sort of paddling very hard underwater. Yeah. And you got a gold medal, Joe. Congratulations. How are you feeling right now about that?
I mean, really pleased, really, really pleased. Obviously, I mean, it's been what, 2 years in the making, so. It's just a massive team effort. There's so many people involved with this garden, and they're all really, really proud of it.
Congratulations. Enjoy the rest of the week.
Thanks, Joe.
Well done to Joe Perkins for his gold medal. And here's what else we've got in store for you on tonight's coverage of the RHS Chelsea Flower Show 2022, an event supported by the Newt. I meet the textile designer Kath Kidston. Adam Frost is here with the first of his guides on designing with plants the Chelsea way. But first, Arit Anderson has been to see some seriously ambitious engineered structures in the Sanctuary Gardens.
There's no doubt that a focal point in a Chelsea garden is bound to be a head-turner. What interests me is the clever way that designers reimagine structures to give the wow factor. This structure not only supports this beautiful wisteria, but it frames the entrance to the garden and draws you in. The structure has been repeated in shape within the garden, but gives a totally different feel. It's expanded here, so I can actually sit underneath it, and that gives a real sense of being held and secure. And all of this is out of the same material, chestnut, and that gives a cohesion in the whole space. Metalwork details are subtly picked up throughout the garden. And remember, using structures are able to give you a sense of division. Here there's a seating area. Over here there's another space which can be used to relax in. Repetition is one of the principles of good design, and this designer has exploited that through the use of materials and shapes to create these wonderful structures. In this garden, the structure emphasises the garden's message. It's the circle of life. And wood has been used in many different ways within this structure. There's a reclaimed telegraph pole as a central support to have all of the radials of cross beams coming off of it. It also gives it a second use. It enables the plants to be able to grow over it. And of course you can't miss this water wheel. And very cleverly, there are little offcuts of wood that have been used in these round raised beds, emphasising the message of the Now, this really is impactful. I love the way that they have used as much scale and proportion in this very small garden. Sometimes we get a little bit worried about putting large objects in small spaces, but what it does is it makes the space feel bigger. The actual Corten steel has been given such a nice finish. Blackened at the beginning here to give it drama, and then it softens into its natural patina of the bronzes and gold tones. And that really is wonderful because it really lifts the palette of plants. You can see the bronzes kind of picking up from the flowers and bouncing off of Corten as well. And from the front of the garden, it kind of changes the mood because now instead of getting this deep depth going through the space, you get these small garden rooms and little vignettes, and that tells the story of the garden. Overall, this really works in my world.
Now, I'm here in the Stitches Garden with Kath Kidson, a famous fabric designer. And Kath, tell me the connection between you and this garden.
Well, first of all, I'm very proud to be here because I've been a trustee of Fine Cell Work for some time, and this is their first appearance at Chelsea to celebrate the beautiful work that they give embroidery to inmates to do in prison to help rehabilitate them. And so the garden has been designed with that in mind. There's a little area which actually rather shockingly is the size of a cell. You can see straight ahead.
Yes.
And then this lovely view with the water and the flower beds that reflects the kind of feeling of hope they get when they do their stitching. So
they're doing the stitching, and that's part of the rehabilitation,
yes.
and it's ended in the garden. Now, what is your gardening history? Are you a gardener?
Well, a very amateur one, but yes.
We're all amateur gardeners.
No, totally. I began when I was a small child with a vegetable patch.
Yes.
And now I'd say I have a very simple garden, but the thing that I'm completely obsessed by is having flowers to pick for the house all year round. Yeah. So I'm thinking always, like right now I've been looking at my dahlias for the autumn. I've just been picking my tulips and so on, you know. So it's very much a picker's garden, I'd say.
And do you have areas of cut flowers, or do you just select from the garden generally and take it as it comes?
It's kind of both. I mean, one thing I do, I grow loads of geraniums. I love pelargoniums, and I've got a greenhouse full of them, so that's my backup thing. Otherwise, I love mixing things into the border and having it in and around the garden.
I mean, obviously, you're famous, very famous, as a fabric designer, and I'm really interested in the relationship between flowers and as a gardener and fabrics, because there's a long, long history of that, isn't there?
Incredible. I mean, you can go back hundreds of years and find all over the world beautiful textiles representing flowers. And I think at the end of the day, drawing, painting, I mean, we're always going to be drawn to designing with flowers.
Yes.
And the history of it is extraordinary. I sometimes go away from flowers, but always come back to them, you know.
And how, when you have prisoners in a cell, some of whom must be sort of fairly intimidating men, how do they react to this rather gentle and genteel floral relationship?
I know. I think they love it. And the amazing thing is, when they're stitching, it reduces feelings of stress and anger. There's a really, probably like gardening, there's this tremendous peaceful feeling using one's hands.
Yeah.
And it's, so I think it is amazing. I've been in to see, you know, quite burly people doing the most beautiful, delicate stitch. I mean, we've got cushions here and things with this very fine needlework. And I think there is a major kind of history of all sorts of people doing embroidery and stitch. But the combination of the flowers in it is rather wonderful, isn't it?
Yes, and you know, the idea of a garden, which is not just, it's a contemplative thing, it's beautiful, it can be reflected, and the prisoners and the fabrics coming together is rather amazing.
Fantastic. And luckily this garden's going to be moved after the show to a prison, and it'll be replanted and done, which is fantastic. So the structure will move on and continue the journey.
That is marvellous. I'm glad it will continue. Thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you very much indeed. Lovely to be here.
Now, all this week, Adam Frost is showcasing some of the best planting schemes and ideas in the gardens here to inspire us all to create a bit of Chelsea magic at home.
Privacy. It's so important to so many of us in our gardens, and there's some very simple ways to achieve it. When you think about it, so many of us buy a new place, we move in, we want that privacy because we're overlooked by neighbours. So what do? Instantly think evergreens. That's not always the answer. That can make it feel enclosed, even uncomfortable. Next, we plant some big trees at the end of the garden. Well, they will be big eventually if we can wait for the 15 years. What I love about this, and this is sometimes what we're scared about, is putting large shrubs, small trees close to our house. Here, that cornice works superbly. Beautiful multi-stem tree. You could do that with an amelanchier, something that could be manipulated, thinned, shaped. It's deciduous as well, so it will give you that privacy in the summer months when most of the time we're out here in the garden, but actually in the winter loses its leaves and lets the light back in. So really, really simple but effective. The moment I sit down there, I feel safe. I'm tucked in under that tree. That cornice is doing a fantastic job. So just putting something a little bit closer to the house and terrace can really work. I think the next thing with privacy is, when do we need it? Do you need it throughout 12 months of the year? I don't necessarily think so. I think if I've got good coverage at home through the summer months when I'm out there with the family, that'll do me. But also, is there a tucked away space in the garden that you can come and just snuggle yourself away? To go big and bold with the planting and provide a wonderful canopy, because that's what's happening here. These tree ferns and this Acer palmata behind me. When I look up, the leaf forms look fantastic against the sky. But interestingly here, It's not just the actual landscape, it's the planting. It's built in layers. The trees do the first, then there's a shrub layer, then there's a herbaceous layer. And because I'm down and close to the plants, it changes the way that you feel. You feel comfortable, you feel cocooned. So I think if you need privacy in your garden, get out, work out where you feel uncomfortable, where you feel more comfortable. What's the sound like? How are you going to affect that light? Don't go too heavy on the evergreens. Look at the layers of your planting. And I think all of a sudden you'll have a garden that feels just a little bit better.
The highlight for many who come to the show, the new varieties that the nurseries are exhibiting to the world for the very first time. And here is Rachel Detain with tonight's selection of new plants that will blow you away.
The Great Pavilion is the place to check out the new plant varieties, so I'm in my element. This gorgeous little geranium is in fact big news because the colour is so unusual. Its name is intense and it really lives up to that with this dark sort of strong magenta pink. And that's a colour that you do find in some of the taller forms. But this small dainty flower and that bright colour, it just makes it exceptional. Now it stays nice and compact like this, so it's perfect for growing as a ground cover, perhaps along the front of a border, in a container or at the edge of a raised bed like this. And the foliage is a bonus too, so very attractive, and it's semi-evergreen, so you'll get some of that staying on the plant through a mild winter, and in the autumn it colours up to beautiful shades of red as well. It's nice and easy to grow, normal well-drained garden soil, and it will grow in full sun and also take a fair bit of shade. And when those flowers finally begin to die away, well, just chop all of that off and you'll get a new flush to see you through the rest of the year. I think it's a fabulous plant. It's definitely on my shopping list. It can be rare to find a plant with a solely British heritage, but this little dianthus is exactly that. And it was 6 years in the breeding, another 3 years in development, so it's taken a while to get this plant to Chelsea. It's a little dianthus called Electric Dreams, and that colour really refers to the strong intensity of that dark pink. As with all dianthus, it's got this lovely silvery grey foliage, which is an indicator that it's drought tolerant. So in fact, what it wants is really good drainage in the soil. And then the flowers, well, they're just going to keep coming until the first frosts. So lovely to see a new shrub here at Chelsea this year. This is Weigela Magic Carpet, and it's one of a new series aiming to bring real interest into the leaves. So it's got this lovely sort of really nice compact shape. And this one has this wonderful bright green leaves when they're new, and then through the season the colours become warmer, so you've got tints of apricot and peach just coming into these leaves here. The flowers are gorgeous, this lovely sort of rosy pink colour, and of course the shape is tubular, so wonderful for bees and other pollinators. The whole plant is compact, only gets to about 60 centimetres in height, so it's great in a large container and also really useful in a small garden.
Well, it's nearly time to reveal the award of Best Show Garden. It's the highest accolade on Main Avenue, reserved only for gold medal winners. Here's a rundown of the runners and riders. The Rewilding Britain landscape, designed by Lulu Urquhart and Adam Hunt. The Mind Garden, designed by Andy Sturgeon. The Morris & Co Garden, designed by Ruth Wilmot. The RNLI Garden, designed by Chris Beardshaw. The Medite Smart Ply Garden, designed by Sarah Eberly. and the Meta Garden designed by Joe Perkins. As ever, some fantastic gardens there. Real imagination and creativity all round. But who did the judges decide was worthy of the Best Show Garden Award? Monty joined Sue Biggs, Director General of the RHS, a little earlier to surprise the winner.
We've worked with all our team, the landscapers, the water guys.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I have something that you have won, Lulu and Adam, the Best Show Garden. First time this Isn't that amazing?
I apologise for the
I can't believe it.
Don't go away. Don't go away.
Absolutely beautiful. It's a perfect garden. It's absolutely perfect.
We joined Lulu and Adam a few weeks ago in the heart of the countryside that inspired their design for the Best Show Garden of Chelsea 2022.
Here we are in Slate Manor in Dorset. It's a 70-acre estate. It's a project we've been working on for nearly a year. We met in 2004. We collaborated on a design project, and we found that we shared a love of nature, naturalistic planting schemes. So what we're looking at is wilding marginal areas where we can create habitat for wildlife.
On first look, we've got a green and pleasant land. It feels lush, verdant.
But if we look a bit deeper, things are not quite as they seem. It has a very low biodiversity value.
Rewilding is an allowance to let nature take control of its own systems again. A flourishing biodiversity, and it's really an allowance and letting go and letting her do the rest. What we've got here is what you'll find all over the British countryside. We've got hedgerows bounding fields. So the problem with the hedgerows in the state that these are in is that they're skinny, gappy, and there's not a lot of species diversity in the plants themselves.
Yeah. We'd like to see this hedgerow at least 10 metres wide.
Yeah.
At which point it has an opportunity to be a proper wildlife habitat and also corridor. What we've got here is something you'll see up and down the country. We've got an old Victorian weir. It's a piece of engineering that creates a barrier in the river for species to move up and down. It's very hard for the salmon that used to run in this river to come up it.
When we were asked to enter something for the Chelsea Garden, it was a no-brainer for us, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, we wanted a garden that could show the beauty that we've seen in these welded landscapes.
So it's early days here on this project, and the next step here is to introduce an animal that is critical in the rewilding process.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And it's at the heart of the design for our Chelsea Garden. So we've come down to Broadbridge Farm in North Devon. It's part of the Rewilding Britain network, and they've just introduced a family of beavers, and we're going to go and see them.
We've been working with Professor Richard Brazier of Exeter University, who knows a lot about beavers.
So Rich, how many beavers are there in this landscape?
Well, there's 3 beavers that were reintroduced here about a year ago, and in that short space of time they've been incredibly busy.
I can see.
Engineering this landscape, you know, they're ecosystem engineers. So the first thing they do in a landscape like this is start to build dams. That brings the water levels up. Then you get more opportunity for all the small little beasties that decompose leaf litter and woody matter living in the bottom of ponds. And of course they become food for fish and for amphibians. And then when those species come back into a beaver land, there's more opportunity for the prey species to survive, just because they've brought more water here. And that of course includes a whole load of wetland loving plants. When the beavers change the structure by felling trees, more light comes through the canopy, and then all these understory plants that we can see in front of us tend to flourish as well.
These are some of the plants that we want to put into our garden.
And what's lovely for us is to try and make this as true and authentic as possible, is to collect beaver Nord sticks, as well as some of these other features. Rich, these are the designs for the garden.
Exciting.
Yeah.
Look at that.
This is where the water's breaking out from the channels coming through the wall. It arrives in the pool that's been dammed by the beavers, and then all these beaver Nord sticks.
Great.
This is where it really spreads out into this water meadow. It does look quite neat and tidy, and there's nature chaos that we really need to bring to this garden.
Nature is messy, and you know, never more so than in a beaver landscape, but I think that design captures that quite nicely.
Rewilding's a collaboration. I mean, there's people involved in these projects across the country. Farmers, landowners, communities, people working on the land, people like us, designers. I think the reason that people have got so excited about it is it's a message of hope. Our Chelsea garden will bring a slice of the excitement that we feel and all the people that we're meeting involved on this rewilding journey to Chelsea.
What is extraordinary to me is that you've translated quite a big idea, quite a sort of big concept, big landscape, big animals, into the small space of a show garden. And the fact that you've won gold medal and best in show and everything else is extraordinary. Was that difficult? Was that really the essence of the problem, or did it just happen naturally?
I mean, when we looked at it, we went with we were interested in beavers as ecosystem engineers. But we're working with Rewilding Britain, and we wanted to show them the rewilding process that happens when you introduce keystone species back into the landscape. Beavers work really well with Chelsea because there's water. It looks good in a show garden. You know, it's natural, and you get a lot of opportunities with planting communities.
Producing a dam.
Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, what was that like?
We're very lucky because Water Artisans and Ben Garner behaved quite beaver-like. He was always in the ponds when we were out researching beaver landscapes. He was rattling around trying to find out, you know, trying to get the right materials, get it looking straight. We actually got beaver Nord sticks from beaver areas, and we've just been collecting for months with our teams. But what's really interesting is this dam filters and cleans water.
Yes.
And so the technical construction of it is a composite dam underneath it. And then actually we've Ben's used Hessian and Koya to clean the water, to really show murky pond to water, because, you know, this is what we need at the moment with our waters, you know, the sort of pollutants in the waters. We need to show how systems can clean themselves.
Your meadows down below,
benefiting from this clean water. Well, that's one thing, and also the dam. What a dam does is it spreads the water out across the landscape, creating more wetland habitat. So one of the beaver sites we went to doing our research, we actually saw white storks flying over, and we saw night herons, species that haven't been seen in the UK for a long time.
As a result of the beaver.
Exactly.
And they see this landscape of wetland, and they know it's got food, they know it's a flourishing biodiversity, so they go.
Well, you've taken this big idea, you've taken the landscape and these really quite complicated processes, distilled it into a Chelsea garden, one gold medal, one best in show. My guess is you're quite happy at the moment.
We are.
Well, well done.
Thank you, Monty.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Many congratulations to Lulu and Adam and Joe. They were so happy about that.
Fantastic.
Now, what about our predictions?
Well, look, it's been in the ground for 24 hours. It's been dug up. Did we get the predictions right? Can't get the top off. Well, that's what I put.
That's what you put. Okay.
What did I put?
You put Rewilding Britain, and yours
and you
is
put
upside
Andy
down.
Sturgeon.
I did, the Mine Garden. Now, listen, you were right.
I was technically right.
Right. But,
yes,
in a way, I was right too.
Well, you were, but you weren't.
Okay.
Because
this is a really interesting situation.
It is.
Okay.
We never had this before either.
Both these gardens got full marks, which is what?
36 points.
Right, they've got 36 points.
Faultless gardens.
Absolutely perfect, and Sarah Eberle's almost got full marks.
Yeah.
So there were two perfect gardens to be best in show. Yeah. But the judges decided that there could only be one.
Yeah, there was a sort of secret ballot.
So they voted and it.
Yeah,
they
and
chose
it's like a
rewilding.
penalty shootout,
But you see,
isn't
the
it?
question it raises to me is, I mean, I think they're both fantastic. I think Rewilding Britain was beautifully done. Was it a garden?
Well, that's a good question. Andy Sturgeon's is a beautiful garden, and the other one is, to me, it's a landscape, a recreation, but just bringing it to Chelsea technically turns it into a garden.
It is a show garden and therefore has a right to win. Whether it is a real garden or not, I'm not sure.
Maybe they should have a garden category and a landscape category, and then they can both win Best in Show. But they never ask us what we think anyway, do they? Let's face it. Right, did you agree with the judges or myself and Monty? Well, the garden designers have got one more chance to achieve gardening greatness. Tomorrow, Dame Mary Berry will be joining Sophie and I to launch the BBC RHS People's Choice Award, where you get to vote for your favourite show garden. You get to choose.
OK. Now, backed by popular demand, it is time for our first Ask Monty and Joe of the week. And we've already had some great questions coming in. Let's have some of them, Joe.
Kate L. Groves asks, I love salvias,
Yes.
but wherever I plant them in my garden, they don't survive winter, even with a good mulch. Is there one that is hardy? Some are hardy. I mean, you know, like Nemorosa caradonna, which I got in my garden. Bees love it. Are a little bit harder, but it's usually drainage.
In my garden, they do not survive the winter because they're too wet. Add lots of drainage, mulch them with grit, but by and large, better to grow them in a pot.
Grow them in a container, a pot with lots of grit, and then you can move them, get the drainage in the good conditions.
What we do is we lift them and then pot them up over winter.
Yeah, but that's a bit more faffy, isn't it? But do love salvia. Faffy. Amanda Hancock, what is your favourite clematis that will provide blooms all summer long?
Amanda, there isn't one. There isn't one at all. But there are three types of clematis. So the early ones, what's your favourite early clematis?
Alpine. The Alpinas are gorgeous. Francis Rivis is one of my favourites.
Then you have the large bloom clematis, which are called Group 2, which will take you through late May into July. And then Group 3, the small flowering ones, which we've got loads of examples.
Bill Mackenzie.
Yeah, well, that will go on till Christmas.
And then you get the beard, you know, the clematis
so
beard,
if you
the
have
old man's
three,
beard.
one from each of them, you get flowering for about 10 months.
Yeah, OK. Joanna Cox asks, I have a small courtyard, south-facing garden. What's the best native small tree?
Crabapple.
Hawthorn.
There you are, that's easy. Lots of different crab apples you can do. OK, well, if you've got any questions about this year's Chelsea Flash or a gardening dilemma, do keep them coming via our Twitter and Facebook pages, because we love to hear from you.
Well, huge congratulations to all the medal winners. It's been a roller coaster of a day for them. Angelica and Nikki are back on BBC One tomorrow afternoon at 3:45.
And Joe and I will be back at 8 o'clock tomorrow night, and I'll be showing you how you can make your garden more bee-friendly. But until then, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.